Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I think that coming here today is mamash the guest of Kiddush Hashem. I don't know if you realize as much as I realize what's going on, especially people online that must live in Eretz Yisrael itself, right? And people all over the world. And today is a day of Simcha. As I state in the remote, Yom Paga. I just want to say one nakuda, which, what's the pshat that Shimon Taka makes such a roshim more than any other Tana? Like, why do Amei Balanes? We call him Balanes. And you don't see the other flacking. You know when his yard side is? It was 3 days ago. It was Pesach Sheni. Yeah. You don't hear. I mean, you'll say maybe they're busy with matzah, but I don't think that's the reason. And there's so many Tanaim. Reb Shimon's Rebbe Kiva. They go to him and David's yard side. Why is Reb Shimon so ungenommen by Klal Yisrael? And you want to say that some Seifer said, he shouldn't, we all know a famous Chuvas Chasam Seifer. He said, you don't have to go to Miran. But the Maisa, it's not a joke that Klal Yisrael took it on, that something special about the Lulav Reb Shimon. Now, by the way, it's a machlokes if that's the day of his yard side. Not Dafka like Baim is the day of his yard side. Okay, but I'm just try to explain a little bit the connection that we have to Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon, we all know the famous Gemara where it's on the Shabbos, in Masech Shabbos, Daf Lamed Gimel, obviously, right? Daf Lamed Gimel and Beis. We know the famous Gemara. Reb Shimon was sitting there with his chaverim, and they started saying, "What type of shvach is this? The government, they built bridges and mechatzayis and marketplaces." And one Tana was quiet, one Tana said this praise, and Reb Shimon says, no, they mean themselves. I have a question for you. Who really cares what they mean? Let's say Biden calls up today and says, Rabbi said, no more taxes. Not only that, I'm going to give you back hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're going to start handling it. He means himself. So give me the money, I'll take it to the bank, it's a got me the right? And let's say you'll talk about it. Reb Shimon definitely will not talk about it. Yeah, because this thing aligned. You think it's a great demand. The guy mean themselves, they don't mean themselves. What's going on there? What's the pshat in Reb Shimon? The Tarot says, Reb Shimon thinks about the Bunim finals. What does that mean? Reb Shimon, what does he hold? Davar she'enim eschaven? Mutter. That's Reb Shimon Beichai. You know that? That's Rashbi. What does that mean? Alt is kavana. Alt is the Bunim. And Shimon says, Klal Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael Malachim, the Gael Gabriel Chashabas, the Shmir yourself Shem and Veret. Akapanim, Bnei Yisrael Malachim. What does that mean? If Shimon sees that it's not Stam a Yid, you see a Yid, nah, he's not my type. He wears a blue shirt, nah, he's not. He wears a strammel, not my type. Only you're the perfect person. Everyone else is a pink tabisal, 2 yeshivas, 2 not yeshivas, 2 this, 2 chassidus, not my type. Right? If Shimon saw in everyone the pintal Yid, else is the neshama. You're not mischaven, potter. What's your pnim? It's Tzanein Elas, it's Tzanechel, Miz Ma'akim, so Shabisa. Everyone wants good. So Shabisa is the Yetzal of Zamatan. Yeah. Oh, you don't speak Yiddish? Okay, we'll try to add to my English a little bit. So getting back here to Reb Shimon. Probably didn't speak, yeah. He didn't speak Yiddish either. So that's where we got to go back to. So we're talking about if Shimon, when he sees someone, he sees what's the inside of what he's doing. I don't just see the act out, what it looks like. He sees the inner ratzon, the inner chukka, the inner cheshek. So he goes ahead, and if Shimon says that David Shem Chavan, like we said many more. If Shimon says the Gemara in Sukkah, the whole world, I could be down the kap's chutz. Why? Because he sees every year no one wants to do Avera. No one wants to be bad. What you do, people never fall, but no one wants to be bad. That's Reb Shimon. That's why we connect Reb Shimon and more than that. Reb Shimon is Zayar. What's Zayar? Saying the pnim of the mitzvah. That's what Zayar is. Right? What is that? Do you know how long does it take you to say Svira? Less than a second. Right? What do you get for that? I don't say the nusach, but I'm sure many of you here say the nusach, right? What do you say? Yushpa Shefarah b'chol ha'olamas. You know how many worlds there are? You know how many worlds there are? Not one, not two, not three, not 1,000, not 2,000, not 1,000,000. Billions of worlds are out there, right? Olamas. From saying this Ma'aseh Mitzvah, I'm touring life millions and millions of worlds. Shefarah b'chol ha'olam. You say the Nusach, I'm sure, Rabbi Reese, right? Whenever you have time, it depends which shul you're davening in, right? And you go ahead, and from one Ma'aseh Mitzvah, Rabbi Shimon tells us, appreciate the Ma'aseh Mitzvah that you're doing. Don't just do it and, okay, you ruggle, you don't realize. You know, they say this marshal, there was a person in jail, and he's pushing a wheel and asking, what are you doing? He says they told him that when he turns this wheel, it turns another big wheel and another big wheel, and the wheat gets grind and the water in this town, and the whole town is being supported by him turning the wheel. And he's doing it. For 20 years, this man's in jail. He's sitting there. Gewaldig. He's doing out the whole world. Finally, he gets freed from jail, and he walks out and he looks at the other end. It's not connected to anything. On the spot, the guy died. Why? He realized he's not doing anything. All that work for nothing. We do one Ma'aseh Mitzvah, we don't realize how many alamas we're being misaken. Koshkein v'koshkein, let's get to the bottom. Learning one word of Torah. We're so not appreciative. We're running here, we're running there, we're running to this cave, that. One word of Limud Torah, Talmud Torah can I get kulam, it's worth billions and trillions and alamas that we can't fathom. So we think we're coming here to learn, big deal. Nah. Like, let me go to this bonfire. It's all good and well. But what's holding up the world? Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. So we have a Yid like Shlomo, bringing it live to us. Nishpashit. He's giving us Ilamis, all the things that he's saying over there, the end of Sphere, 1 billion times more than that. Because Talmud Torah is connected all the mitzvahs. So every second you're sitting here, you're getting this schar. It's unbelievable. We would just appreciate it and connect to it. And that's what the Zayah was the Bunim. You know, who is Mechadish Brich Shemei? You open up on Kaidish, yeah? You think, big deal, I'm opening up a closet. Take out the Sefer Torah. So Shimon Chai tells us in Zayah, no, that's the Sha'ar Rachman. Now it's Eis Rotzen. Daven for your children, V'seiv Nim Richnen, the Oven Rusach, Yerava Kadamach, the Siftach Libai Bayayisa. Who's that? That's Shimon. We don't stop. We're not people that just act it out. There's a Pnim in everything we do. Imagine you think that a lulav and esrog are just a broomstick and a lemon, right? You'll take it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you'll be finished with that. But we understand that no, there's the Ratzon of Hashem, there's something, I'm doing something with this, it's a different life. You have appreciation for what you're doing. We're not machshav Torah enough. We're not machshav enough that we come here for a few hours to sit and learn. You don't realize what you're doing instead. You could be a younger yid, I don't call Alti Yid because no such thing as Alti Yid. A younger yid sitting and wasting his time. Instead, you come here to sit and learn. It's marvel al Arayan. Don't think that even one time missing is a p'sanach hazach. You come late. Every single shir is so chashuv at your bench. The if it's 2 people, it doesn't mean how many Talmidim did Rebbe Kiva build the whole world with? He had 5. He had 24,000 couldn't do anything. 5 Talmidim, he rebuilt the whole world. Right? You know that? English, Yiddish, Jewish, franchises, it's all the same. 5 Talmidim. Finif, exactly. Right? Finif Talmidim, he did the whole thing. It's not the numbers that counts, it's us ourselves. Yeah. Okay.
Is that the sworn from Shimon being time of the crow?
Yeah, exactly. That's all it.
Darshan's time of the crow. He wants to tell you really what the mitzvah is all about.
Yes. Okay. I didn't mean to get so involved in this, but the Patar is coming from Shimon. Yeah. Okay, so let's try to. Oh, that was our adlock, exactly. That's the true adlock. Exactly. You know what adlock is? Exactly. Okay, adlock, exactly. Okay. So let's work a little bit on, I heard that you did already the Shittas. Let's try to wrap it up and see what the, oh no, you didn't do so much yet? Okay, Bruce is getting nervous. No, okay, we'll start from the beginning. Okay, the Gemara says on Lamed Ches Amud Aleph, we're doing Masechtas BRACHOS. Okay? Tractate BRACHOS. My English is not that good, but we'll try.
It's getting better
on the
spot, as we speak. Amen.
Amalei Hume Abanan L'Rava. Trima Mao. This is a Gemara. Lamed Chesam and Aleph. Le'ava Daita the Rava Maika Amalei. Rava didn't know what he was talking about. Then the Gemara finishes off and says, "VeHilchasa Hamri v'Avdinu Trima mevarich alai bayir priates." You make a bayir priates. My timer. B'musayu kaimi k'demei kara. It's still the same as when it started. Okay, so that's a Gemara. The Gemara tells us that Trima, you make a bracha bayir priates. What does that mean? You crushed it up, but it's still in existence. It still has the form as it started. Therefore, you make a bayir priates. Now, why not? Why would you think not? Let's say you even crush it completely. Why shouldn't you make a bayir priates? This is an apple that was crushed. An apple makes a bayir priates. So I crush it. So what's the now? Why should I make a bayir priates? It came from the tree. It tastes like an apple. Might not look like an apple, but who cares what it looks like? This thing came from a tree. So why should I make a bayir priates? Why should it lose its bracha? So on this, we want to say that it's a machlekes in the HaRav. And before we even see the HaRav, let's try to clear that two reasons why it should be switch its bracha. One reason is really everything should be a shahakal. Shahakal is the regular bracha, thanking Hashem, shahakal, niyah. I'm thanking Hashem. Kumt Chazal and say no. We want you to make special brachos. We want you to make this thing is not just water; it's an apple. So make a bayir priates. This thing's not just water; it's a cucumber. Make a bayir priadama. Do something special, which means really, I make a shahakal. I got it all in. I thanked Hashem. I praised Hashem for this thing. No problem. But we want you to, since the Chazal figured this is something more specific. Whenever you tell your wife, "Thank you for everything," she looks and turns the other way. But you say, "Thank you for the supper." Not just thank you for the supper. And you explain, "Thank you for this delicious chicken." And you say, "Thank you for delicious macaroni," whatever she made for you for supper. Then she feels good. She knows that she spent 2 hours on the chicken. It's not thank you for everything, right? So the same with the Rebbeinu. When we're more specific, it has more chashivas to it. So therefore, that's because the pri is chashiv. But when the pri lost its tzura, it now looks like a mush. So it doesn't have a chashivas to it. So now let's go back to shahakal niyah b'dvar. It lost its chashivas. That's one mahalach how to say it. The other mahalach would be to say is because since it's not the norm to eat like this, bayir priates you're making because that's how you eat this apple. But here you're going ahead and you're eating this apple with a spoon, or you're drinking it, it became into juice. So now that's not the normal way to eat the apple. So there Chazal didn't give it its chashivas habracha. So we're saying, is it a pshat because it loses its chashivas because it went from an apple is considered chashiv, but over here it went from an apple to a juice, to mush. Therefore, it loses its chashivas, or not mitzad the chashivas apri. Just because the way you're eating it is how are you eating this? This is not the normal way to eat it. Normal way to eat apples to bite into it. And here you're going ahead and eating it different. You're eating it with a spoon instead of biting into it. So therefore, that's why it loses its bracha. So I'll tell you. This is a nice suffix, how to learn. And I found it that the chayretz machlekes in the HaRav. In Shuvas Chasam Sefer, Chaim Simon Nun, he's mashma that the reason why you're making a shahakal is because it doesn't have a shem pri. It lost its chashivas apri. A pri is chashiv, like we said, really everything should be made a shahakal, but a pri, this apple has a chashivas to it. But once I go ahead and mush it, so it lost the shem pri. That's how that mashma. The Mishabura in Simon Reish Ches, Sif Cotton Lamed Ches, is mashma that the reason is because it's like you're eating the pri, shalei kedach, not the normal way to eat it. Therefore, you make a shahakal. So we have machlekes in the HaRav and pashtus. We're not going to go through it, but that's pashtus the machlekes. Now, so he had a shaila, the Gemara had a shaila, and the Gemara said that avdinu trima, you make a bayir priates. If you made it into this trima, and we don't know exactly what that means, but the Gemara says it's b'milsayu kaimi kedemei kara. It's still in its form somewhat. You did crush it, but it's still someone is in its form, therefore you make a Bayei Pri Eitz. The bracha stays as is. Now, what does that mean? So the Trumas Hadesha learns that Shem Trima Kol Davar Kosus Kshas Ve'ena Mirusik. It's not completely mirusik. It's not completely crushed. It's koshus tzas, but it's ain't mirusik. Therefore, it stays with its original bracha. But if it'll be mirusik legami, then you make a shahaka. Which means if it was completely squashed and completely lost its form, then you make a shahaka. The only reason why I'm not making a shahaka is because it's not mirusik legami, which means I still see it its form. It's not the apple, the shape of the apple, but I still see pieces of apple in it. I still have, it didn't lose its tzur legami, so therefore I'll make a eitz. But they agree that let's say it's mirusik legami, over there you would make a shahaka. The downgraded.
Is mirusik that it was made into tiny pieces, or it was crushed? It's one mass. Marusik sounds to me like risuk is chopped into pieces.
Yeah, so mirusik legami does not mean juice. That's not the sugya. That's called mayperis. Our sugya means that it's crushed, completely crushed.
Nisma'ech. This mi'uch is crushing.
Why can't we go back to the apple? The apple.
Applesauce. What is what applesauce? Applesauce.
Applesauce.
Applesauce. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
There's mi'uch and there's risuk.
Okay, let's talk in English. Who doesn't understand that? I also don't.
Mi'uch is washing. It becomes
Yeah.
crushed. It becomes
Give me an
squashed.
example, a marshal.
Take anything, you take a free and you just squeeze it hard enough, it makes, you change the shape, it changes the shape. Take a banana.
The banana that you crush comes very mushy, comes like, it looks like applesauce, no? I mean, like applesauce, because applesauce you put in water, you mean?
A mashed banana is like a smashed apple.
You want to know like this? You mean a baked apple?
No.
A baked apple gets mushy inside if you do it well.
It does.
That's only, most of the tzur is only because it's still in the red, it's still in the peel.
But he's right. That still has a tzura.
Yeah, okay, I got
What
it.
about the
I'm saying
tzura?
that's not mirusik
But
legami.
anyway, see, what's your point?
Yeah, no, he's trying to bring up a good point.
Say something about crush, and to me, that will be a different word.
He wants to know marusik and moch is different. Lav dafka.
No, not really. No, I'll read you the Trumas Hadesha. He says, "Shemavash lemoisem adshem nimuchim legamri, uma'avem tavshel," and then he says the word mirusik. I'm saying it's all the same. Yeah. So now this is not only Rashi. Trumas Hadesha says this is Pshan Rashi, but there's a Ra'ah, there's a Tzva, brought down a Shittim Mekavat that. Yeah, the question was, I'll repeat this question. This question was, is we're using sometimes the word risuk and we're using sometimes the word nisma'ech. He wanted to know if it's two different things. So we came out that it's really the same, it's borrowed terms, it's really the same thing. Okay, now.
I would guess that mismaik means it happens by itself in the cooking process. Risuk means you mechanically, actively crush it yourself.
Okay, that could be, you're probably right, but the outcome is the same.
Because it says michum biyad, so there's no
Yeah,
cooking
those
involved there.
Yeah, okay, but the outcome is the same. We're not looking at the difference of that.
Okay,
Now.
let's go further. Yeah.
The other Rishonim, the Medayik like that in the Rambam, the Beis Yosef learns like that very clearly in Simon Reish Beis, Sif Zion, that the Rambam argues on this Rashi. And the Rambam says, I'll read you the Rambam, Tmorim Shemacham Biyad. V'hoitzi Garinim Shalem V'osan K'may Isa
148.
Mevarech Alei, and the Rambam's Perek Ches HaRav Halacha Daled, Mevarech Alei and Tchila Bayei Pri Eitz, Ulevesei Bracham Achas Me'en Shalosh. So the Beis Yosef is medayik from the Rambam that if the pri is nismayach legamri, completely crushed, still you make a eitz. And the svara is the way we were saying that this thing came from a tree. It came not just from a tree; it came from an apple. So it doesn't look like an apple. Now who cares? This thing has the same din as an apple, and therefore you would go ahead and make a bayei pri eitz on this pri. So again. We have machlokes in the Rishonim. If you nismayach it legamri, it lost its tzura completely. But we know definitely it came from apple and it came from a tree that grew apple. it stays a bar peretz or not. Rashi says, by shakal ne'ebedvara. The Rambam, where the Beis Yosef learns, others learn otherwise, but the Beis Yosef learns that the Rambam would hold that you go ahead and you make a ha'etz. Okay?
So according to Rambam, you're certainly making ate some applesauce.
Definitely so. So if anyone's a Sfadi, let's see what the Machlekes Mechaber, Shulchan Aruch, and the Ramah in Siman Reish Beis Siv Zayin. Can we turn to that?
Here we have the Talmud of the Rambam right here. Stick.
Talmud of the Rambam?
30 years.
You're not that old.
Not that old though.
Oh, you're a Sfadi, real deal?
That's why it 10 years.
Egyptian Syrian. Okay.
I'm from Egyptian. So I said Talmud of the Rambam.
Talmud of the Rambam,
I
Mish
knew what I was
Pashas.
talking about.
Claw with the tongue.
Clear Rambam.
Good. Let's see the Shulchan Aruch. You don't want the Rambam? Let's see a little bit further, a few hundred years afterwards. Dr. Shulchan Aruch, Siman Reish Beis. Oh, he has it here. Tamarim shemiachal. Biyad, you crushed it with your hand. V'asaman Isa. V'hoitzi me'em gainem. You took out the pits. Afil lahachi le'nishtanis b'chasam. The bracha doesn't leave us. U'mavarech le'em b'yei p'yetz. So say bracha machas men shalish. You make a bracha machas men shalish. Dr. Ma. V'lefi zehu adin b'leturin hanika pevdila. Does anyone know what this is?
Sour cherry preserve / jam.
Where did you get that from?
We know everything here.
Okay.
AI.
You can repeat that?
Sour cherries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
And it's preserves or jam or jelly. One of the three.
Okay.
Depending how whatever.
Okay. So mevarchin aleim b'yei p'yetz. You make a b'yei p'yetz. He's going off the mechaber. The mechaber tells you tomorrow that you squash completely. You took out the pits. There's nothing there. Still, the bracha doesn't change. Zakter ma v'yeshayim levarach aleim sha'akal. You make a sha'akal. So here we have machlekes. Where's the ma coming from? Shumas Hadesh and Siman Peites. I read you that Shumas Hadesh. Shumas Hadesh saw that in Rashi. Where's the mechaber coming from? The Rambam. So we have the mechaber going along with the Rambam. Applesauce, clearly, it's. The Ramah tells you, B'nai Ashkenaz? No, sha'akal. Shima. Gunisht. Shemiach and Miyad, there's nothing. Completely crushed. He's coming and arguing on the Rabbi Reese, he's coming and arguing on the Ramah. The Ramah's arguing. That means the Ramah said the Trumas Hadeshen, in our case, that the Trumas Hadeshen learned in Rashi, that there are still some pieces there, whatever. That's where the Ramah says you make a shahaka, which means the Ramah is telling you that Mirusik Legamri. It's Mirusik Legamri and I make a shahaka. Of them, Dr. Mechaber, no. And even Mirusik Legamri, I make Horetz. So Svardim are always going to make the bracha that it came from. On crushed apples, completely, Horetz. Dr. Ramah, no. But in Ashkenaz, we go to Trumas Hadeshen, B'Shem Rashi, that we will make a shahaka. Yes, no problem. If it's a good question, we're going to repeat it for the Olam Online. If it's not, so you'll know if it's a good question or not. Okay?
You have an item, say, dates. Okay, my wife makes HaRav out of ground dates.
Okay?
Puree them.
Okay?
Puree, what's the story with puree according to the Rambam?
Yeah, we're going to get there. We're doing it. We're just there. Okay.
This is something.
Okay.
In other words, a date, you can make a ha'etz.
Then,
Puree, nobody eats it. Nobody eats it alone.
But the Rambam says you do. The Rambam says also
That's
Isa.
the
The Rambam says you michem the Isa be'etz. That's the lashon of the Rambam.
tomorrow.
Make
But
it
he's not making it tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow's date.
Oh, that's what you're doing already?
Dates.
I don't. The Rambam's time
Rambam
period. You're not critical anymore. You're done.
In Egypt, you did eat that.
In Egypt, you ate it. You forgot it already. Oh, that's the problem. You got to go back to. Okay. So we have a Svada here that's asking that what happens. He eats. He says no one eats it regularly, but he eats dates that are squashed completely. And what's with bugs? You eat that along with it. Take out the bugs. Okay.
We gotta move.
So anyways, over here the Mechaber writes very clear. that the bracha is a bypass. Now, there's a big machlokes how to learn the Rama, but Pashtus was saying, let's learn the Rama very clearly that the Yesh Aimim is coming to be Chadek and the Shulchan Aruch. And if we look at the Gayan, could you go down a little bit? Oh, it's on the side, I think.
I go, what did he say about Nefesh should make a better praise on something else? Or what?
He holds it's not a suffering. We
Huh?
go with the Trumas Hadeshen and
You
it's not a
should.
suffering. Make a shackle. He says,
You make a shackle midin suffix or midin, because I hold that.
Okay, we're gonna get there.
Shackle.
we're gonna get there. So now let's see the Gayan over here. The Gayan, he says, V'yesh Aimim, Kepirish Rashi Sham, Ve'enim Merusik, V'kach Kosav Atur, V'chaykim al Rambam Shulchan Aruch, Shekosav Asav. So they're arguing on the Rambam. So it's very clearly that the Gayan learned that the Rambam is arguing. And us b'nei Ashkenaz, when you merasik it legamri, you make a shahakel and not an eitz, and the mechaber would hold you make a eitz. Now, zokt the mishabura. Let's go down a little bit. Sifkat and mem beis. You have it on the same page or a different page? I don't know what we have.
No, it's page across.
Page across, okay. Sifkat and mem beis. V'yesh oimim levarach aleim shahakel. And
Page 242.
he says,
What happened to the guy? The guy was on the right side?
yeah, he said, yeah, he showed it to us
Oh,
before.
showed it, okay.
Yeah, and it's a pretty long mishabura. Let's try to read it quickly. But then
Which one?
achreinim
Membez?
membez.
243.
Yeah, he has it on the line. Yesh mem shesayvim da yesh mem leipale kiyim apavdilo mishum shenimucha legamri leinika tzurasan klal. Aval bedin hamechabed demayi betmorim shenis rasku shenika toyayom v'tzurasan. I'm going to explain in a minute what he's saying here. After shemis raskin legamri moide de mevarach bay prietz. The yesh man shesayvim da yesh mem pale gamma de mechaber. V'svielu de kivon de nisrasku legamri mevarach shahakel uladina enough communim is that. Dafam name of the Yeshem and Pala Gamma Tomam Shenesasku Mikol Mokim La Halacha Kaimel and Kedas Mechaber the Heicha Shemamosh and Kaim Lo Yishtanish Bechasam. Unless it's missing
Follow
the
the yellow
Gamri,
up to the top of them on the first column.
the Heicha Shemamosh and Kaim Lo Yishtanish Bechasam V'rak B'pavdilo She'ibit Kol Tzurasa V'lenika Klal Ma'u Oz the Katchim Mevarach Shakel L'Chras Mo. The BRACHOS Yotze Alakel B'Di'evet. And we'll stop here. So let's repeat what we just said. The Mishabura comes along and tells us that he wants to start off saying that there's a machlokes in the Achreinim where the Mechaber and the Rama argue. What's the case exactly that they argue? But he ends off that it doesn't make any difference. He says, because even if the Yeshayim are arguing by Tamarim Shenis Asku, Lamaisa, what we paskin is like the Mechaber, which means Heicha shemamoshan kayim leinishtanish bechasam. If there's mamoshes left to it, the bracha is by prietz. If it's lost completely, you don't know what it is, then you make a shackle. This is what we're here to explain today. That's what he's saying in the Mechaber, and that's like the Achra and and that's what we pass. So that's what the Mishabura makes a pass. Yeah, Shevet Levi, yeah.
You're already you're
Yes,
5
yes, yes.
centuries ahead.
No. I'll tell you why. That was different over there. That was, we were discussing last week with soup. So we said the soup got in it already by Piadama. The fact that the peri lost its shame, I don't discare about that. That's, I don't want to get anyone mixed up on that.
He's asking a good kasha.
Very good kasha.
Yeah.
Very good kasha, Rabbi Rees. Let's stay focused over here because that's a very good question. But that was the Gabe soup. When the soup got its bracha, so even though the pre lost its bracha, the soup is going to stay.
But what's the gap with the pay? Forget about the soup. The pay also, it wasn't done about
Shevet Levi? No, it's a what? On the free, no, it depends. It has to be something. No, it has to be something there too. Okay, one second. Let's just repeat this Mishabura. The Mishabura tells us that if there's Mamoshon Kayim, Loy Nishtanish Bechasam. If I still see the Mamoshes, there's still pieces to it, the bracha stays above creates. But if there's no pieces, what he doesn't say, he says much more than that. Ibid kol tzurasai, v'loy niki klal mahi. I don't have any recognition of what this thing is. I don't know if this is applesauce. I don't know if it's orange. I don't know what this thing is. Therefore, then you make a shahakal. Okay? The Mishnah Berurah is very clear to us. We had a mechaba and a mo, but the Mishnah Berurah says, skip everything out. Everyone agrees like this. If there are pieces to it, you make the original bracha. If there aren't pieces, you make a shahakal. What does that mean? What does it mean? Let me ask you a question. Are there any green vegetables or fruit, avocado, what bracha do you make an avocado? Right? It's grown from a tree, right? Opposite that people think they see it in the store, it's with the vegetables. Avocados are right. Now, did you ever see mistakes? Yeah, people make mistakes all along. Fine. So now, avocados are eights. You crush the avocado. Your wife mashes it. It's called guacamole. You ever heard that name? I don't know how to spell it. Don't ask me. But there's such a thing. You know English. You probably know how to spell it. Fine. But as far as I know, it's a Yiddish word. Guacamole. Fine. So now, you go ahead and what is that? What bracha do you make? You mash it well. You do it before Shabbos, right? Like this, you can mash it. No problem. Teicha, no problem. Losh. You're putting lemon juice. Yeah. What bracha do you make on that? Is it nikah? Huh? Let's say you do. It doesn't make a difference. But the ik is the avocado. Could you tell it's avocado? How could you tell?
Green. It's green.
It's green. Okay. Potatoes are white, yellow, whatever. Avocado is green. Applesauce is
White.
light brown, right? White, light brown, whatever. Yeah. So you ever have a case that's like nikah. You ever thought potato kugel was egg kugel? You ever thought when you ate potato kugel that it's apple kugel? Ever got mixed up?
Could be.
Yeah. I never saw anyone get mixed up with it. You ever had potato kugel and say, maybe this is Shalayma kugel, or maybe this is.
No, the answer is no. Yes.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but how do I know apple?
What I'm coming to say is,
I don't know potato kugel is potato. I don't know potato kugel is a potato. That's a different.
What do you think it is?
What? I don't know. It's baked into something. It doesn't look like a potato.
No one ever thought that you ordered by mistake a apple kugel instead of a potato kugel.
No, but how do I know potato kugel is a potato? It doesn't look like the potato. Maybe it comes from some sort of other vegetable.
Why don't they tell me?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, so if you dropped out of a spaceship and you see guacamole, what do you think that is? Okay, so and when you see not guacamole, you see cut up avocado. What do you think that is? You also don't know. You fell from a spaceship. We're talking about someone's Bahai Alma. Okay.
But potato kugel is not good.
Okay, so you know what? Let's not start with potato. Let's start with guacamole, and I'm asking that for a reason because we have to understand what the Mishnah Berurah is telling us. Mishnah Berurah is telling us, "Ibet kol tzurasai." Lost the soul tzur. That's enough for me, right? Then he says, "V'lo nikah klal mahu." What does that mean? Let's say it's nikah because the color. There's no such light green of any other fruit or vegetable out there. So that's by lack of choices. Then I know that guacamole, right? Guacamole with a G.
But if
Guacamole.
you never saw it before, you wouldn't know. He's right. I mean, okay.
So if I never saw what a potato is, I wouldn't know what anything is. So do I need the fact that means when he said that you make barapriates, he said that mamoshon kayim, there are still pieces. Okay, but when he said that you make a shahakal, he didn't say a mamoshon kayim. He said lo nikah klal mau. Maybe it's the color, maybe it's the texture, maybe anything. That means, let's say I see green and there's no other such green. How do I know salmon's a salmon? You ever caught a salmon in the lake? Salmon fish? Right? You ever caught something like that? No. How do you know? Because the store told you that pink is salmon. Right? There's no other, as I write, that we are makel. If you buy salmon in Costco, we're makel that, where's the action? How we makel? Because we could be saying there's no such pink. And that's the truth. There's no such pink color in Gansveld, other fish. So we know salmon is salmon from the color. Yeah, okay, yeah. Whatever that color is, right? So what does that mean? Because color is an uptight in what this thing is also. So when I see the color green in a mush, I know that that's guacamole. I know that's avocado, even though there's not one piece in there. So is that enough for me to make a barapriates or not? Yeah, are you passing already? Okay. So now let's,
Food color,
what?
food color.
So now, let's discuss this. I asked this to Moshe Matrikab. Moshe Matrikab is from today the biggest Talmid Chacham in Eretz Yisrael.
What's the shaila now?
The shaila is to be very clear. When the Mishnah Berurah tells us that if it's nicker, then the bracha stays. That means the Mishnah Berurah left us hanging. The Mishnah Berurah went one way and said, "Mamash and Kayim, you make a boy praise." Mamash and Kayim means there are pieces. So applesauce, I can't say most of the time. When you buy it in the store, there are no pieces. When your wife makes applesauce, most of the time there are pieces there. Sometimes you even scream at her, "Why do you leave the pits in there?" But if you're lucky, the pits got out, and there are some pieces there, right? Your wife doesn't come and mamish mush it to nothing. So that we have a klal Mishnah Berurah. If there are pieces, you make a boy praise. Right? True? Is everyone on the same page? Bought applesauce that you give for little children, that those store bought applesauce, those jars, we understand that should be a shackle, the Bible.
Only
White
according
applesauce.
to the Rama.
Yeah, one second. No, even the way the Mishnah Berurah is touching. We're in the Mishnah Berurah's world now.
Even the Rama?
The Mishnah Berurah is learning in the Mechab also.
If the color isn't the same.
How could that be? The Rama never mentions the word shakal in anything.
No, but the Rambam, he's telling you the Rambam also meant that there's mamash and kaim. He wasn't talking about when it's completely parade. That's how the Mishnah Berurah just read. The heichesh mamash and kaim lo yinishtanet bechasam. Even in the Mechaba, I have to have some mamashas. So even you from Egypt and Syria and all other places in that town, in that side of the world,
And
still.
applesauce doesn't, you think?
So I said it makes a difference what type of applesauce. The applesauce that you're buying in a store, there's no mamashas. The applesauce that you're buying, that your wife is making, there is mamashas.
Because the presence of pieces of apple,
That's the nafkamina.
okay.
But what does the words "velo nika klal mahu"?
Yes, that's what we're gonna get to. Let's repeat.
That's very confusing because anybody puts a applesauce in front of you, you blindfolded, you'll know it's applesauce.
Right. So let's get there. We're gonna get there. So again, we didn't pass it yet. Please don't leave yet. We said.
I'm here.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good. Shlomo.
In
So
Chicago,
how about
I'm
this?
here, all the way from Chicago.
Okay. What's the weather? You have any
Beautiful,
bonfires?
it's a lot warmer weather, and I'm
Okay,
learning Torah.
Okay, so now it's like this. So when we have we have clearly that when there's mamash and kayim, you're making a boy praise. So as of now, we're saying your wife makes applesauce. Most of the times, 99% of the times, mamash and kayim. You'll make a boy praise. Store applesauce is not mamash and kayim. But then we have the Mishnah Berurah telling us that that's not enough of the klal. That the only time when it's like nikah klal mahu, when it lost its surah and you can't tell what it is. Not mamash and kayim. There's no tzura. I don't know, not from the color, not from anything else. So I asked this to Moshe Matrikab, and he told me no. The color does not help you. It's only if there are pieces or not pieces. So when I come and I see this applesauce, and I know the color, applesauce. Today, you know all colors. You know that your wife's giving you something at the end of the Suda. You're not asking her, is this potato sauce? I don't know, what else could you think of a color of an apple? You know colors, no? What's similar to the color of an apple?
What other fruit?
Another mush? Pear. Okay, they're both eights. It doesn't really make a difference to me. Quince, that's not eights? What's a quince? Any eights also. So you're not really getting me. Do you have to know that it's an apple and not a pear?
Cauliflower.
Applesauce, you wouldn't know, just looking at applesauce, you would know.
Okay, so good. So now, Zok Moshe Matrikab and the Pischei Halacha wrote to me the same thing, that Inyan of Nikapri is Akol Toli and Nisrasik Legamri. If it was Merusik, if you made it puree, I don't care if you know because your mother told you, or you know because the color, you know anything else. If it's Nisrasik Legami, if it's puree, you make a shahaka. Therefore, they came out that as long as it's store-bought, most of the times, and a little baby is eating it, or even today we have bigger jars that men are eating it, right? Nothing to do with the little jars that I'm talking about, even big jars. But since it's merusik legami, it loses its bracha by a create, and you make a shackle.
Even according to the Mechaber.
Yeah. 1 second. Oh, that's a good question. So now, there's a sefer called Minchas Ish. That is written, I spoke about it a few times, that's written by Rabbi Yehuda Shapiro's Einikel. Rabbi Yehuda Shapiro was the Rish Kailel in Chazon Ish, along with Rabbi Nissen Karelitz. He was from the biggest Talmidei Chazon Ish. He has a beautiful sefer on HBrachos. And over there, he writes that even if there aren't pieces, he says, as long as it's nicker, it doesn't make a difference. If you know about it, it's nicker, the color, let's say whatever it is, you would go ahead and make a ha'etz. Now, the Maisa,
Even B'das Ramah.
yeah. Now, that is not the halacha. The Maisa, we're not passing like that. We're passing, it depends if it's merusik legamri or not, like the Baal Pischei halacha, like a Moshe Matrikab, the Stipe is mashma like that. So we're going to make an afkamina if it's parade or not parade. If it's parade, it's going to lose its bracha, it's going to make a shaka. If it has pieces in it, then the bracha stays to a eitz or adam or whatever we're discussing. Now, let's say, yeah, we'll get the potato. You're rushing it up here. 1 second. What? Mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes, it's merusik legamri. If you have a piece in there, you're not happy with that. Right? Completely squashed. It's completely.
We're back to what Marusik means. Who said it? Before they had blender, when your mother arrived it with the rabbi, was that Marusik or not?
100%. 100%. You can't compare mashed potato to applesauce. Why? But I'll explain why. Because the consistency is a lot different. The etzim, it's pieces. It's got to connect it together. Oh, guacamole is more like mashed potatoes. Because guacamole is really what you're doing is you're just changing its form. That means its shape. Right. And that's why there's some achronim like HaRav Shabbos, they hold there's no teichen by when it comes to when you're just changing its form. Because it was this form and now you made it to this form. It's still connected. It's still there. Applesauce was one, it was an apple, and now what happened? You made it with sauce. Guacamole, the last name of guacamole is not sauce. No, it's not guacamole sauce, is it? It's not avocado sauce. It's not potato sauce. Right. You took the potato, it's a very important yesod, yeah? Yesod means foundation. That it didn't change.
Hebrew.
What happened is it didn't. Oh, Hebrew, you know.
Hebrew he knows.
Hebrew
Better
knows.
than us.
Okay, it didn't change completely its form. It just went from like this and it went and the flat. So that's much different. So let's repeat. Let's go back to a very important child. Applesauce. When you see applesauce, yeah, even with some pieces, let's say your wife makes it, and there's some pieces. Maybe it's pear sauce. Maybe it comes from pears. You'd rather your wife doesn't normally do that because you don't like pear sauce. So what? Maybe you have to know which tree. You don't recognize it. You don't recognize which fruit. Is that a good question? Zok the minchas ish, the same mechava, doesn't make a difference. Since you know it's a fruit and it's not a vegetable, you'll make a bayit peretz. I could hear to dingzach on that and say no. It lost its chashivas apri. It doesn't look like an apple. Maybe it's a pear. I know it's a fruit because I know the vegetable won't look like that. But maybe it's a pear, or maybe it's a quince, or maybe it's a swince, or maybe it's a pint. Right? Doesn't make a difference. That's his svara. He brings a riot this and he says Zay the path like this also. So I wouldn't argue on that. But upon him, that's where it's now. Many times the problem is your wife brings the applesauce to the table and you look at it. Oh boy, it looks like you did grind it, you didn't grind it. I'm not sure what's called merusik, what's called not. This could happen many times. Or you come to potato kugel and is this merusik or not? I don't know what to do with this. So we know if there are long pieces, that's very clear to me. If there are big pieces of apple, very clear to me. But many times it's not clear. Right? But everything's clear. But some people, things aren't so clear. So what do? When someone's mesupik, what should he do?
You make a shackle.
Why?
Because you're Mesupik in the Metzias. Therefore, it's a Mishal and Metzias and the Bracha. That's what the topic Bracha.
So, Mar and Sa'ator of Chaim Kanievsky says, like a Shloima, that you make a shackle. But the Pischei Halacha, again, that's Rabbi Forst from Rockaway. He says in his Sefer, "Va'afim yesh safek b'dava, ha'alei me'ikra adin b'chasai b'rei pri adam or b'rei pri eitz," whatever we're discussing. El shenoig levarach shackle k'divrei ema. If can't call sheyeh safek, you make a b'rei pri adam or a b'rei pri eitz. I asked him.
What?
This is what he said. So this is
What
very.
do you mean? What
This
does
is the
no
most
get?
relevant for us question of the whole sugya, because we're very clear. When there are big pieces, a potato kugel, you make adam. Very clear. When it's a mush completely applesauce that's completely pureed, chocolate. We're very clear. But the problem is when you don't know. You don't
I
know.
would say potato kugel, commercial potato kugel, you don't know either.
Yeah.
It's made out of cream.
Commercial
stuff.
potato, I'm very scared about Mazinus lately. I hear they're putting so much flour in there. No, I agree. I was just
You're talking about
yeah. So
Chamesh Minidogin.
yeah.
I don't understand what he's saying. That's noyig in Karamah. Ramah doesn't say noyig. Ramah give you up sakalacha based on that Trumas and Deshra. What is noyig in Karamah? We're Bnei Ashkenaz. Sorry.
So let me tell you what he wrote to me.
It doesn't make any
I
sense.
asked him the Shaila of Shlomo. Shlomo is asking a personal question. What do you mean? What's he writing this? And by me, he's the most chashuv to HaBrachos. He went through this sugis yashav alpha. So this plays a lot of, this carries a lot of weight. So I asked him this. I said, "Excuse me, the chol pam sheyeh safek mevachim shackle. Anytime there's a real safek, you make a shackle. The yom is supik. You don't know what this thing is. Really? That means you have a tzaddik parade. You have a safek parade, safek shackle, make a shackle." So he wrote to me like this. I'll read you his lashon. Okay? Heicha sheyesh safek im levarach mezaynes ha'adama. I safek ha'etz v'shakal mevarachim shakal. Page 386 if you want to see on the bottom. Aval hacha me'ikir adin mevarachim b'rei pri eitz. V'rak noyeg in levarach shakal lochash l'das ha'trumas hadeshan. V'im kein heicha sheyesh safek im shayach minik zeh l'chayr yivarach b'chasei ha'makori. You know what makori is?
Original.
Original. Uke'en svar zu isa b'igis Moshe Echayim Pelik Aleph Simin Peiches L'Inyipeis Agdelim Alasneh, which we did not learn yet. Yes, I definitely will do. First I'll say Hebrew, Yiddish, and then English. Yeah. So now like this. Okay. So now he's telling us like this. He's telling us when there's a suffix, you mesupik. If you make a mezainis or adama or eitz or shackle, you make a shackle, no problem. Over here he tells us me'ikir adin is like the mechaber to make eitz. This comes from an act. You have to prove to me that it lost its surah. It lost its form. If you're mesupik, that means you can't prove it. That means you have it sad that no, this is apple. You have it sad that maybe this comes from avocado. You have it sad that this comes from potato. So if you have it sad, you can't knock it out of its original bracha. So this is a very Londinsky machlokes going on here. Rabbi Avigdor Nebenzal, you heard of him? Great grand rabbi of the old city. From the Talmidei Chachamim, the biggest Talmidei Chachamim of our generation.
We saw him a few months ago.
Oh, you saw him? Okay.
With you.
Oh, with you, yeah. I still have that picture. Yeah, so he says that, like Chaim Kanievsky, you make a shahakol in Mesupik. But the Pischei Halacha holds by himself, and he says, no, you make a Adama. Because since, or eitz, whatever we're discussing, since its original bracha was eitz, you have to prove to me that it lost. That if you're Mesupik, you can't prove it. Therefore, you make a eitz or Adama. So now let's get to our potato kugel. How does your wife make her potato kugel? In a blender, or she has a ribeye? Which stage is she from? Is she from the 1920s, the 1930s, or food pasta, like most of our wives? Right? She makes her food pasta. Which piece? I'm not asking, because I don't know myself. There's a piece that my stomach has pieces and a piece not pieces, right? Depends from the bottom, from the top.
Yeah, Rav means the blade, yeah.
The blade, yeah, the which blade? That makes a big difference.
Makes a difference whether there's pieces in that.
Whether there's pieces or not. So now, so what bracha should we make? So we got nowhere. Right, we started with a very.
According to the Brisker halacha, what's the mashed potatoes? Does it make a difference? According to him, is also
Well,
dama?
We'll get to mashed potatoes.
According to the Brisker halacha.
Well, does he write on it? He doesn't have a
doesn't
tshuva on it.
mention Brisker, 'cause you didn't ask him mashed potatoes.
No, I didn't ask him. Really, Pringles is going to be a big thing. Okay, let's finish. So now, there are,
So what is he saying on Google again? I'm a little confused. What is
we
this?
did
part?
not get to Kugel yet.
We haven't got the.
We're just trying to give us the shitas, trying to get this to explaining, and I think we need another hour on this,
Go over time.
but we're not going
We're gonna
for
go
next week.
overtime.
We're finishing this again now. Okay, Rabbi Black, are you okay with that? No, he's not. And we can't do that.
Okay, Levaiter.
Yeah, okay, just a few more minutes. So again, let's just make a sikkum of what we spoke about. Sikkum means a summary. We have the Vaila. So far, what we have in front of us is we have Mishnah Berurah that tells us that if there are pieces, you make a bayir pirates. If it's not nikitsura b'chlal, you make a shakel, which we came out. Parade, even though you know that it came from there, doesn't make a difference. You can have the apple sitting on it, but what you're eating is the parade, you make a shakel. Now, that was very clear, okay? Parade, you're making a shakel. Let's make the difference between applesauce that your wife makes and applesauce that you're buying in the store. Applesauce that you're buying in the store, make a shakel. Applesauce that your wife makes, you make a eitz. Very clear, okay? Now, question. You come to potato kugel. If there are pieces, you make a adama. If there aren't any pieces, you make a shakel. Okay, but I don't know. I don't know what pieces mean. Right? I learned this sugya 1,000 times. I still don't know what pieces mean. So what bracha should I make? So we just came up with the machlokes. If you're mesupik, Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Rabbi Nebazal told us, make a shakel. Rabbi Forrest tells us, make a adama. Why? Because as long as you're not clear that this is parade, you make a hadama. Original bracha stays. Okay? So that's it. We spoke for an hour, but it's very clear.
You don't even have to feel the pieces. You just have to be not clear that it's.
No, you can't be a tippish and say, okay, wear sunglasses and say, I just don't know what's going on here. Take off your glasses, or if you need glasses, put them on. Depends if you're far side or this side. I don't care, whatever it is. Go look what it is and say, what is this thing? You know what? I see pieces. I'm not sure. Now, okay.
Sometimes you have to taste it to see it, but okay, that's different. And you have to make the bracha.
Oh, once I get to guacamole, we'll talk about mashed potatoes. So now, that's clear. Shlomo Zalman tells us that Kolzman it's nicker by potato kugel, you make a bayir piyadam. The Shevet Alevi says that also. The Chut Shani, which is a Nisik it says, Kolzman is mamoshes, you make a bayir piyadam. It's not just enough that it's nicker, you need to have mamoshes to it. So now, the Debetzina says that we skipped out one big nakuda here, but I'm not getting into it about what's the derech to eat or not. We're not putting that into. There are others, Paiskim, Debetzina and Abzil Arbach, and the Minchas Ish that tells us that potato kugel is always going to be a bayir pri adam. Always. The tachlis is you eat it with a fork and knife. With a fork, that's how you eat it. It stays a bayir pri adam. So we always have to keep that in mind. That if you're mesupik, since we have the pischei halacha with us, that tells us when you're mesupik, you make a bayir pri adam. We have others that argue. But over here we're telling you that there are some poskim that hold every potato kugel makes a bayir pri adama, because since it still has a form, it's not like applesauce that just falls apart. It's still in a form. Why? Because it was baked. I don't care. But the ma'isa, since it still has a form, therefore, zog the poskim the Debetzina Rav Zatzal. Debetzina Arbach zog gesund sein. The Minchas Ish saying from his grandfather that any potato kugel makes adama. I'm not saying that will be the halacha, but if in a case where you're mesupik, you can be samech on them.
Moshe never paskin on potato kugel.
Yeah. So I'm trying to skip. I'm trying to get to the bottom line. So again, let's talk about tonight, this week, Friday night. Hopefully eating a sudas, it's not a shayla. Shabbos day, you're going to a kiddush. Should you make a shakel on your potato kugel? Should you make a adama on your potato kugel?
I'm making a shalom zacher mitzvah.
Making a shalom zacher in your house?
Yeah,
Over here in
so it's
Lakewood?
gonna be, yeah, but there's gonna be potato kugel
Right.
after the suit.
So I'll tell you like this, there's a potato kugel called in Lakewood, Menachem's potato kugel. I think that's a very, I don't work for him, I have no idea, but it's a sort after potato kugel. That's mamish mush to nothing. So you'll have people, you'll announce what bracha, you have people are going to be fire shahakel, and you have people, no, I could see it. I could see the pieces. Hadam. Every kiddush you're going to have is machlokes. Rather, don't ask, because you're going to embarrass people over there. Everyone's not going to know what they're doing. Guarantee you that's for every single kiddush. I have a guy in my shul, every potato kugel, even when there are pieces, as eknish. He has very strong sunglasses. He does not see the pieces. And then they have another guy. Now, I'll
One
tell
guy
you
says
where.
the eighth is to eat the cholent because it has potatoes. in
It says if you want to be from, you have something which are dama beforehand, and you have a shackle.
Yeah, the problem.
Now-
So what's the shalom shalom? You know,
Yeah, serve Pringles also.
Oh, Pringle's not going to happen. Now, I'm saying that it's more mistabed adama than shackle because I'm telling you, you have enough places to be
Not
semich.
easy to find an adama at a kiddush.
No, it's not. It's really not. I'll tell you where you can find adama. Where do you find adama?
Vegetables.
Where vegetables? You go to the ladies section. But let's say you don't want to go to the ladies section.
Chickpeas.
Chickpeas. I'm talking about a kiddush.
Hasham Zacher.
Shamzach, yeah, but what's about a kiddush? Peanuts, okay. You don't have to, you're the old school. They can serve potatoes, no peanuts in them. Herring, and what do they serve herring with?
Cracker.
Onions. What bracha do you make in the onions?
Oh, the onion.
I don't know.
No, but let's say it's just taking an onion by itself.
Yeah, but what if
Okay.
it's truffle to the herring?
We'll
Then
confuse you a little bit more. Next week we're going to invite them. Maybe we'll just end off with the mashed potatoes and guacamole. I'm sorry, time is up. It's Hilula de Rashbi, and we thought have to go to some five.
1 second. So we didn't do the